Tov, everyone. It is Wednesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the House of Seven Beggars, and therefore it must be this Torah study with Rabbi and Reb Reuven. Good to have you all here. Let's check and see who we have in the chat room. We have, so far, we have Donald, we have Kat and David, and Miriam, and a number of people who are watching in the background. Good to have you all here. Those of you who are in the background, good to have you here, even if you don't want to come into the chat room. Fine, we're glad to have you. Okay, so we are quickly closing in on the end of our study for the Sefer Breshit. And we will be moving into the Sefer Shmot after that. So, as we have been doing, we've been featuring one of Rabbi Moshe Steinerman's series, the I Love Torah series. This tonight we will be featuring Hasidus, Kabbalah, and meditation. Again, so you can get these on Amazon. Just simply put in the search, I Love Torah series, and that will get you to all the books. I believe there are 10 of them. I've got them right here, but I don't have time to count them. They are fantastic books. They have a lot of good information. He's making these available at cost, which means that you can pick them up very reasonably at around $7 a piece. About $7 a piece. And then, or if you don't want to, if you can't afford the book, the actual book, you can get it on the Kindle for 99 cents. And like I said, he is making these available at cost. He makes literally a couple of pennies on each one of them. So the idea is he just wants to get these out into the public, and we want to make sure that we support Rabbi Steinerman. He is a dear friend for a very long time, and we want to support him in what we do because we are told that we should support the Torah scholars. So there you go. Okay. Let's see. Okay, just checking the chat room. Okay, so again, we are on like the last 19 pages of the book. We have covered all this, and actually we don't even have that much left because it goes into the Haftarahs after this. It has the Haftarah, but it has there's no Rashi commentary on it. So we have 19 pages left to do. So that's all that's left, folks. That's it. We have persevered to through the study. Those of you who have been with us through the whole thing, Mazel Tov. I'm glad that you stuck with us through this. Okay, so, and again, there's a couple of announcements, a little bit of housekeeping to do. Recently, we were blessed to be able to afford or have made available to us a 26-volume set of the Shas, the Talmud Bavli, and by talking with the person who had them up for sale, gave us an extremely good price because we were a synagogue and he wanted them to go to someplace that was actually going to use them. Gave us a fantastic deal. As anybody knows that has looked at the series, and it doesn't matter which one, you'll find out that to get the hard copy of that, which is runs about 30 volumes altogether. We have a few that are missing. Some of the minor ones are missing, but we will pick them up along the way. But they usually run about $1,800 for the full set. And we were very fortunate that the gentleman who had it made it available to us for $300 plus shipping. So, very fortunate. We have been looking for years to actually pick up a set. We came very close once, but it didn't work out, and we were very... obviously, we weren't meant to have them then, and we were meant to have them now. So, okay, so Guy has joined us. Good to have you, Guy. Okay, so we left off. We are on, in the Sefer Bereshit, we are on chapter 49, and we left off at verse 21. So, before we start, okay, so verse 21. We're going through the blessings by Yaakov on his sons. We've made it all the way through to Asher, and we will pick up this evening with Naphtali. And verse 21, Naphtali is a hind set off who delivers beautiful sayings. Rashi goes on to say here, Rashi elucidates, a hind set off. This is in reference to the valley of Ginoser in the portion of the tribe of Naphtali, in which is as quick to ripen its fruits as the hind, which is quick at running. The term Aryel, Shelucham, Aryel Shelucha, means a hind set off to run, and who delivers beautiful sayings. This is to be understood as Targum Onkelos renders it, and of course it doesn't tell us how Targum Onkelos renders it, but in the further commentary, we have, in reference to the valley of Gisanar, which is, now I got to find it, there it is, a very fertile valley extending inland to the northwest shore of the Sea of Galilee. Okay. As it regards Targum Onkelos, the further commentary says, his portion will yield fruit. They will give thanks and blessings over them. Okay, I would have thought that there would have been more to say on that, but obviously not. We're on to verse 22. You're right, Miriam. That was beyond a bargain. Okay, so verse 22. A son of grace is Yosef, a son of grace to the eye. Girls stepped up to gaze. And it's going, and Rashi has got a tremendous amount to say about this. Actually goes on for 2 pages here. So, just on this very short verse, Rashi goes on to elucidate, alternatively, Yaakov prophesied about the war against Sisera, of which says, and you shall take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali. Okay. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. Okay, I jumped behind. We were still on, I'm sorry, Naphtali. It actually goes on to the next page. So back to Naphtali for a moment. Alternatively, Yaakov prophesied about the war against Sisera, of which it says, and you shall take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali, and so on. And they went there with alacrity. Wow, I got it right. Alacrity. It likewise uses the term set off there. He was set off in the valley on his feet. Who delivers beautiful sayings. Because of them, i.e., the men of the tribe of Naphtali mentioned in the previous comment, Devorah and Barak sang a song of praise to God. Our rabbis interpret our verse differently. It speaks about the day of Yaakov's burial, when Esav laid claim to the cave of Machpelah in Tractate Sotah from the Talmud, which we now have. Okay, so as Targum Onkelos renders our verse, the words Yitrame Adve, which means his lot will fall, and he will give thanks for his portion with beautiful sayings and praise. Ben Porat means Ben Chen, son of grace. It is an Aramaic. It is in the Aramaic language. It is related to the Aramaic word apirian. In let us extend our grace to Rabbi Shimon at the end of tractate, or at the end of tractate Bava Metzia. Okay, so. And again, I skipped right over. We were into 22. This is talking about Yosef being a son of grace. Okay, a son of grace to the eye. His grace is spread out over the eye that sees him. Girls stepped up to gaze. The girls of Mitzrayim would step along the wall to gaze at Yosef's beauty. Many girls, everyone whom stepped to the place from where she could see him. Alternatively, Aleshur means al rayato, overseeing him. The word shur here is like the meaning is like in meaning to Ashurenu. In I shall look at him, but it is not near. There are many Agadic midrashim on our verse, but this interpretation tends toward the resolution of the verse. Grace. Shabot, or parat, grace. The letter, the tav in it is an enhancement of the language, which does not affect the meaning of the simple verse, like the Divret, or the Tav in Divret, over the matter of people. Doesn't change it. To gaze. This has the same meaning as the shur with the lamed prefix, which means in order to gaze. Targum Onkelos rendering the phrase is, 2 tribes shall come forth from his sons. Scripture wrote daughters when referring to tribes because of the daughters of Manasseh. That is the daughters of Manasseh, descendants of Zelophehad, who took portions on both sides of the Yarden. Targum Onkelos renders Ben Porat Yosef as Bari the Yisgeh Yosef, a populous son, is Yosef. With the words Porat meaning being fruitful and multiplying. There are Gerek Medrashim on this verse which fit the wording. One of them at the time that Esau came towards Yaakov. In the case of all members of Yaakov's family, the mothers went first to go ahead of their sons to bow to Esau, but Rachel, it is written, Yosef and Rachel came forward and bowed down, which implies that Yosef preceded Rachel. Yosef said to himself, this evil one, Esau, is arrogant and feels he deserves whatever he wants. He might set his eye on my mother. So Yosef went out ahead of Rachel and stretched his height to cover her. This is why his father blessed him with Ben Porat, which is understood here as, 3 pages now, a growing son, as if to say, you enlarge yourself, Yosef, over the eye of Esau. This is why you are worthy of the greatness made manifest by the statement, girls stepped up to gaze, i.e. to look at you, when you would go out to rule over Mitzrayim. They also expound it as referring to the fact that the evil eye will not affect his offspring. Also, when Yaakov blessed Ephraim and Manasseh, he blessed them that they should be like fish, over which the evil eye has no effect. Okay, so lots and lots of additional commentary on here. Yeah. Okay, so and verse 22. Okay, that's 8. Okay, and Rashi disagrees with Targum Onkelos, whom Rashi cites later in his commentary to this verse, which is kind of unusual. We don't see Rashi disagreeing with Onkelos very often. It does happen, and this is one of the cases where it does happen. But in most cases, Rashi pretty much goes along with the Onkelos' interpretation. He may vary a little bit on it, but usually they are in pretty close to it in agreement, with the exception of a few places like we have here where he actually does not agree with it. Regarding to Bava Metzia, that is folio 119a, Rashi there explains that King Shapur of Persia was well versed in the law. When a certain ruling of the Tanna Rabbi Shimon was reported to him, he praised Rabbi Shimon with this statement. Okay, so let us extend our grace let us extend our grace to Rabbi Shimon. Okay. The next commentary is on A Son of Grace to the Eye. This is unlike Targum Onkelos, who understands as a year in our verse in its other meaning spring. Okay, and then we have a comment regarding the with Yosef's beauty, talking about the text of the Rashi is from the Reggio di Calibri edition, in addition to containing two interpretations of shur, its Aramaic sense wall and the sense of the verb to gaze. There are many versions of this Rashi in various editions. They are discussed in Maskil de David, Yosef Halelel, and Rashi Hashalem. Something I'm sure you were all concerned about. Okay, let's see. Kelsey Lynn has joined us. Okay, so with regard to from where she could see him, the additional commentary says Rashi thus reconciles the plural subject banot with the singular predicate zada. The combination implies that each of many girls stepped individually. Okay. In regards to the Agedic Midrash, Midrashim, that is, this interpretation fits the entire context of the verse without breaking into unrelated segments. So, over the matter of, over the matter of people, this has to do with dropping the tav off of the word. Rashi sees porat as an equivalent of porah as divrat, as is equivalent to al divar, and that's it. Okay, so moving on, we have some more on this. Looking for five, which is the lamed prefix. Okay, the phrase davar achar, and that appears in some editions at this point, is a mistake and should be erased. Okay, that's according to Be'er Yitzhak, based on Mizrahi. Okay, back to Onkelos again. Targum Onkelos continues, they shall receive a portion and a place to settle. I think this is referring back to the daughters. Should be right there. 2 tribes shall come forth from his sons. Okay. Whether regards the daughters who took their portions on both sides of the Yarden, Techuma Pinchat 9. The 2 tribes mentioned by Targum Onkelos are the tribes of Ephraim and Menashe. Scripture's reference to them as daughters is an allusion to the daughters of Zelophehad. Continuing on. Lots and lots. Okay. Again, we're back to Porat. Porat, meaning being fruitful and multiplying. Unlike the explanation given by Rashi above, Targum Onkelos and Menachem ben Saruk see Porat as a Hebrew word from the root Feresh, to be fruitful. Accordingly, the tav of porat is not an enhancement. See Rashi above, so referring back again to porat, but in an indication of the construct form, the fruitfulness of Yosef. Okay. This evil one, Esav, is arrogant. Literally, his eye is high. The commentators to Proverbs 6:17 interpret a similar phrase there, connotating arrogance. Finally, on this page where it says that Yosef stretched his height, the further commentary says, Rasham, to Breshit Rabbah 78:10, says that Yosef stretched himself miraculously, for he was only 6 years old at the time. His full height would not have covered his mother. This is supported by Rashi's use here of Shebev for both of the other places where Rashi uses the verb of the root shin, resh, vet, in his commentary to Scripture, Exodus 4:2, Numbers 14:37, and wherever he uses it in his commentary to the Talmud, he refers to elongation beyond an object's natural length. Okay. A growing son, referring to a growing son. This explanation accounts for why Yaakov called Yosef a son. He referred to something Yosef did in his role as a son. As it regards, and you enlarged yourself, Yosef. According to this interpretation, Rashi sees Yosef as our verse as a term of address direct at Yosef. This is in contrast to the first interpretation, in which he saw it as the end of the first clause of the verse. A son of grace is Yosef. For in the first interpretation, Yaakov refers to a trait, grace, which is characteristic of Yosef throughout his life. It is thus appropriate to say, a son of grace is Yosef. But this Zegedic interpretation sees the verse as referring to one specific event. It would therefore be inappropriate for Yaakov to declare, a growing son is Yosef, as if his growing were a permanent characteristic. Therefore, Rashi sees Yosef of the verse as a term of address. Yaakov said, you were a growing son, Yosef. Okay. And we'll jump to 8, which is on here somewhere. There it is. With regard to his brothers, okay, I think we are... Yeah, okay, so we are at 23. Finally at 23. Okay, so, verse 23, they embittered him and became antagonists. The master of arrows hated him. Okay, Rashi goes on to say about this, is that they embittered him and became antagonists. His brothers made him bitter. And Potiphar, the wife, and his wife made him bitter by imprisoning him. The word Vaimaruhu, is related to Vaimaru in and they embittered their lives, referring to Shemot. This means, this is Verobu, This means his brothers became his antagonists. The word is not of a form they acted, i.e., it is not an active verb, for if so, it should have been vowelized as varavu, which means they fought. Like Rabu in, they are the waters of strife, where the children of Israel contended, and so on and so forth. And even if it were an expression of shooting arrows, it should have been vowelized the same way. But it is nothing but a form of they were acted upon. Like in the heavens were amazed, which means literally they were put at a loss, a passive verb. Similarly, romu in they rose for a moment, which is an expression denoting they were raised, except that the form that they were raised and they were put low, or they were put at loss, indicate that action was done to the subject of the verb by means of others. While the form they were amazed, they arose, they became antagonists, is a form which implies that the action was done by the subjects by themselves. That is, the word samul means they put themselves at a loss, and romu means they elevated themselves. And robu means they became antagonists. Similarly, domu in the island dwellers were dumbstruck has the same meaning as became silent. V'chein. Similarly, Tergem em unka lus. Targum Onkelos renders Varubu as they were hostile towards him. Master of arrows, whose tongues are like arrows. Targum Onkelos renders Ba'alei Hitzim as parties of division, related to Mechatze, and the half was, in our verse, refers to those who were intended to divide a heritage with Yosef, i.e. his brothers. Okay, going back to the further commentary, Rashi goes on to reject that the... okay, we already talked... Oh, yeah. Rashi goes on... his brothers became his antagonists. Further commentary says Rashi goes on to reject the possibility that Varubu means that they shot arrows at him. This, however, the way that Ibn Ezra, in the name of Rabbi Shmuel Hanagid, the Radak, understood our verse, according to their interpretations, Weimar Ruhu means they took out his bile by piercing his liver with arrows. The wording of our verse, according to them, is seen as related to that of Job 16:13. His archers surrounded me, my bile he will spill to the ground. Okay. The next one is related to, not that one. And even if it were expressive of shooting arrows, even if you will say it, as does Rabbi Shmuel Hanagid, that Varubu from the root resh bet hay, to shoot arrows, rather than resh yud bet, to fight or contend. Okay. This is related to if I can find it. Oh, there's two. Okay. The island dwellers were dumbstruck comes from Isaiah 23:2. They were hostile towards him. The further commentary says this supports Rashi's point that Varobum denotes dispute rather than shooting arrows. Okay. As it relates to whose tongues are like arrows. Bereshit Rabbah 98:19, Tehillah 120, verse 3 through and 4, and Yirmiyahu chapter 9, verse 7, compare malicious talk to, and we should also say the Chofetz Chaim also compares malicious talk to shooting arrows, in that a bow can cause harm to another from a distance. Yosef was the victim of malicious talk on the part of his brothers and on the part of the Egyptians. Furthermore, just like an arrow kills from afar, so the brothers conspired to kill Yosef from afar. Okay, and finally, this actually goes to the next verse, which is 24. But his bow was firmly emplaced, and his arms were gilded from the hands. From the hands of the mighty power of Yaakov. From there, shepherd of the stone of Yisrael. Okay, Rashi goes on to say here that Vatashev Ba'etan Kachtom. This means nit yasvuam v'chozech. But his bow was firmly emplaced. His bow, this represents his strength. And his arms were gilded. This is a reference to the putting of the ring on Yosef's hand. The word Vayapozu is related to Mofez in gleaming gold. This came about from the hand of the Holy One, blessed is He, who is the mighty power of Yaakov, and from there he rose to become a shepherd of the stone of Yisrael, i.e. the essence of Yisrael. An expression is related to the phrase, the headstone, which means royalty. Tarban also renders this part of the verse this way. As I said, most of the time, they usually agree. However, he renders Vateshev as his prophecy came back at his brothers. That is, the dreams he dreamed of them, but Targum Onkelos' next phrase, because he kept the Torah secretly in an edition and is not translation of the Hebrew wording for the verse. Targums, he put his reliance upon the Mighty One, is the translation Beitan Kashto. This is how Targum's language fits the Hebrew. His prophecy came back because the power of the Holy One, blessed is He, was to him as a bow and a source of security, which is Targum Onkelos' next phrase, meaning therefore his arms were gilded in conformity with the interpretation of, given above. Targum Onkelos sees as related to paz, a type of gold, which is the interpretation given above. Targum Onkelos, I already said that. Okay, Stone of Yisrael. The word even is seen by Targum Onkelos as an abbreviated form of the word Av Uvein, which are rendered by Targum Onkelos in Aramaic as father and sons. That is Yaakov and his sons. As regarding Yosef's suppressing his urge at the incident involving his master's wife, the verse calls it a bow because a seaman shoots like an arrow. Okay. According to this interpretation, Potsui of his arms were gilded. Kamo Potsu, who is seen as they were dispersed. For the semen went out, and from between the fingers of the hands. Okay. From the hands of the mighty power of Yaakov, for an image of the visage of his father appeared to him, and so on and so forth, as stated in Tractate Shoftim. Okay, lots of additional commentary here. That is from the hands of the Holy One, blessed is He, or from that situation. That is, Yosef became the one who cared for Yaakov, the stone or essence of Yisrael. Okay, as it relates to Targum Onkelos' rendering, Rashi means that Targum Onkelos agrees with his interpretation of his arms were gilded. Rashi and Targum disagree on other points of the verse, such as the meaning of Stone of Yisrael, as Rashi goes on to point out from Be'er Yitzhak, the Rome, and the Alphabet's editions, however, read Be'unkelus till game. But Onkelos renders with Rashi representing Onkelos as an alternative to his own explanation. Okay, so back to 2 here. His prophecy came back at his brothers. Unlike Rashi, who understands Teshev to be the root of Yud Vet, to sit. Targum Onkelos understands it to be of the root Shin Vet, to return. Okay. Here we got a good one here. So as it is related to it's got to be here somewhere. It's here. I know it's here. There, okay, there's 4, 5. Okay. Finally. Okay. As it relates to as seen as they were dispersed. The the additional commentary says that the 22 letters of the Aleph are classified according to the speech organs used in their pronunciation. Thus, the letters Aleph, He, Chet, Ayin have their origin in the throat and are called Thiot, Hagaron, letters of the throat. The gutturals, Gimel, and are the Otiyot, Hachech, letters of the palate, the palatals, letters of the tongue, with its tip between the teeth, or the dentals. Letters of the teeth are sibilants, and letters of the lips are or abials. In the commentary of Leviticus 19:16, Rashi states, all the letters that have their source from the same place, i.e., they are all formed by the same organs of speech. They are interchangeable with one another. Thus, the letter Zab are sometimes interchanged, as in the roots of such words, which both mean to shout. And again, we're getting into all this grammar and letter construction, stuff like that. Okay. Let's move on here to, for the semen went out from between the fingers of the hand. That is, he dug his fingertips into the ground and leaned on them so that his physical discomfort would suppress his desire. His semen miraculously came out from between his fingers. See Maharal, going back to Shota, folio 36a, who explains this figuratively. As it relates to, from an image of the vision of his father that appeared to him, the further commentator says the Gemara goes on to say that the image of Yaakov warned Yosef that if he were to sin with his master's wife, his name would be erased from the ephod, referring to Shemot 28:6-12, and he would be known thereafter as one who frequents prostitutes. Okay, so we're a little past our halfway point, so we are going to pause here, and when we return, we'll pick up with verse 25. Hope you stay tuned, and we will see you back here in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, On with the show.
And we are back. Okay, thanks for sticking around, everybody. And Crystal has joined us. Good to have you, Crystal. Okay, so we left off. We are on, for those of you who are just joining us, we're on we're in the Sefer Breshit, chapter 49. We're at verse 25. From the God of your, still talking about Yosef. From the God of your father, and he will help you, and the Almighty, and he will bless you with blessings of heaven from above, blessings of the deep crouching below, blessings of casting the womb. Okay, and that's the end of the verse. Okay, Rashi goes on to say here, from the God of your father, did this come to you, and he will help you. And with the Almighty, this means, and your heart was with the Holy One, blessed is he, when you did not listen to the words of your master's wife, he will bless you. Blessings of castings and womb. This means blessings of father and of mother. As if to say, may those whose father and those who give birth be blessed, that the male should inseminate with a drop which is fit for conception, and the females should not bereave their wombs by miscarrying their fetuses. Castings. The phrase, he shall be cast down, is rendered by Targum Onkelos as he shall be propelled, from the Aramaic root, shin dalet yud, to propel. The word shadayim here, too, is from the same root because the semen shoots like an arrow. Okay, back to the semen again. Okay, so the further commentary on this one. Oh, we're still going here. Okay. No, I guess we're not. Okay. The further commentary on here says the vet prefix on the verb generally indicates that it follows another verb, but no other verb precedes. Rashi notes here that the prefix indicates that there is an implicit pronouns who, because the prefix of the verb. That's from Mizrahi. As it regards and your heart was with the Holy One, blessed is he. The 8 is used here in the sense of with. It does not indicate a direct object, as it usually does. For other examples of the usage, see Rashi's alternative interpretation of haaretz, et haaretz, in 613 above, and Targum Onkelos' rendering of et Rivka. Okay. In regards to the words of your master's wife, Rashi provides the meaning of the vague and with the Almighty. As it regards blessings of the father and of the mother, according to Maskil the David, Rashi's version of Targum Onkelos had this reading. This differs from the standard version of Targum Onkelos, which reads Davuch, Udimach, of your of your father and of your mother, and which refers specifically to Yaakov and Rachel, without the pronominal suffix. The phrase is the blessing that Joseph's offsprings should conceive healthy, viable fetuses. And then we have the last one here, which is related to, to propel, the Aramaic word to propel. Rashi explains how the word Sharayim, which usually means breast, can mean father. From Minchat Yehuda Shifri Chachamim, Rashi chooses to interpret the verse this way rather than seeing Shadiyim in its simplest sense as breast, because we would expect womb to precede breasts, for conception precedes nursing. Okay. On to verse 26. The blessings of your father became mighty beyond the blessings of my parents to the bounds of the world's hills. Let them be upon Joseph's head and upon the head of the withdrawn one of his brothers. Okay, Rashi got a lot to say on this one. The blessings of your father became mighty, and so on and so forth. The blessings which the Holy One blessed is he blessed me, keep becoming mighty, beyond the blessings that he blessed my parents, to the bounds of the world's hills, because my blessing became mighty, to the end of the boundaries of the hills of the world. For he gave me an open-ended blessing without limits, reaching the four extremities of the world. As it says, you shall spread out powerfully westward, eastward, northward, and southward, which he did not say to our father Abraham or to Yitzhak. To Abraham he said, raise now your eyes and look out from where you are, northward, etc., and all the land, and he showed him only the land of Israel, Eretz Israel. To Yitzhak he said, and to you and your offspring I will give all these lands, and establish the oath, and so on and so forth, to Abraham your father. This is why Yitzhak said, I shall feed you the portion of Yaakov your father, and he did not say the portion of Abraham. My parents, this relates to the word for conception, for they brought about my conception in my mother's womb. It is like in a man brought about conception. To the bounds. This means to the ends, as in you shall draw a border for yourselves at the eastern border, and in you shall draw a border to the approach of Hamat. Bounds. Samael in Old French, Rashi being an old Frenchman. I know it's getting to be an old joke at this point. Menachem ben Saruk classified it, but Onkelos renders the word as an expression of desire and longing. And according to Targum Onkelos, hills in our verses related to pillars of the earth. Targum Onkelos translation refers to the fact that Yaakov's mother longed for the blessing and forced Yaakov to take them. Let them be, all of them, upon Joseph's head. the withdrawn one of his brothers. This is to be understood as Targum Onkelos renders it, the isolated ones of his brothers, for he was separated from his brothers. It is like words from the same root in they shall withdraw from that which the Holy One, the Holy of the children of Israel, and they withdrew towards the rear. Okay. The further commentary on this one related back to the blessings of your father means the blessings which your father received, not the blessings which your father gave. As it relates to, kept becoming mighty. Rashi's Gavru V'chalhu indicates that Gavru in our verse refers to an ongoing process becoming mighty. Gavru al is thus used here in the same sense of overcame as it is, for example, in 2 Samuel 11:23. If it were, it would have implied that there was some sort of conflict between Yaakov's blessing and those of his parents, and at some time Yaakov's blessings overcame. Okay. This one goes to the blessings. This has to do with the blessings of Abraham and Yitzhak, which is, okay, establish the oath, etc., to Abraham, your father. 26:3 above. The verse continues, that I swore to Abraham, your father, thus here too God promised Yitzhak only the same lands that he promised Abraham, as opposed to what Yaakov got, which was basically limitless, north, south, east, west, all of that. Okay. As it regards to brought about my conception in my mother's womb, Rashi states the obvious fact that conception takes place inside the body of the mother to make it clear that his Horni, as well as Horem, of the verse connotates conception and not instruction. Horni standing by itself could have been understood as instructed me. But it is impossible to understand the phrase Horni bime imi as instructed me in the womb of my mother. Let's see. Like in a man brought about conception, that actually comes from Job 3:3. Rashi cites the verse to show that Haru does not refer exclusively to a woman's role in conception. As it relates to Hamat, I shall draw the border. You shall draw a border to the approach of Hamat. Numbers 34:8, like Menachem ben Saruk and his Makbaret. Rashi sees Ta'avet in our verse, as well as the heat Tem and Tataru of the verse he's citing as coming from the biliteral root Tav Aleph, to draw a line, not from Aleph Vav, to desire. Thus, Ta'avat is not the construct form of Ta'avad, desire, as it is in Tehillim 10:3 and 17. Okay, some more stuff about Old French. And I think we are on to the next verse. Nope, not quite. Okay, so as it relates to there, for he was separated from his brothers. The word Nazir is used as a technical halachic term in Numbers chapter 5 for one who takes a particular vow of abstinence. Although there are midrashim which say Nizir Achiv. Nazir Achiv. In our verse, in the sense that Rashi cites Targum Onkelos to show that it is not the simple meaning of the verse, for Targum Onkelos renders Nazir in the technical sense of the root, known as the root resh, and here he uses parisha. However, it is still possible to understand the separateness denoted by both targums, parisha and Nazir in our verse as referring to asceticism. The ascetic of his brothers, Rashi therefore adds, for he was separated from his brothers, to clarify that separateness here refers to Joseph's isolation from his family. Okay. We are on to verse 27. Benjamin. Benjamin is a wolf who will maul. In the morning, he will devour spoils and do something else. In the evening, he will distribute plunder. Okay, Benjamin is a wolf who will maul. He is a wolf who will maul. Yaakov prophesied about this fact that the tribe of Benjamin is destined to be grabbers. Each one of you shall grab for himself his wife, which is stated at the incident of the concubine of Gibeah. And he prophesied about Saul, that he would vanquish his enemies all around. And Saul established the kingship over Israel, and he waged war all around against all his enemies. In the morning, he will devour spoils. The word here, loot and plunder, means loot and plunder, which is rendered by Targum Onkelos as Adam. It also has a word which resembles it, Bilshun Ivrit, in the Hebrew language. They shall then then spoils and plunder. So I guess if you put them together, it's splendors. Then spoils and plunder shall be divided up. Yaakov speaks of Saul, who rose as king at the beginning of the morning and shining of Israel. And in the evening he will distribute plunder. Even when the son of Israel will set through Nebuchadnezzar, who will exile them to Babylonia, he will distribute plunder. That is Mordechai and Esther, who are of the tribe of Benjamin. Now we got Purim coming up, so this is something valuable to know. Okay, the Mordecai and Esther were of the tribe of Benjamin. Will distribute the plunder of Haman. As it says, behold, I have given Haman's house to Esther. But Onkelos renders the verse as speaking about the plunder of the Kohanim, the priest, in the holy items of the temple for their share of the offering. Again, we can relate this back to Purim, because when we read Megillah, Vahi bimei Verosh, and it goes on in the first chapter, and it talks about the wine feast, and it talks about all the different implements and stuff. When we go to the Talmud and the Agidah, it actually talks about these various cups and stuff that were used by Ahasuerus for this big wine feast, were from the loot that he had stolen from the Beit Hamikdash, the Holy Temple. So again, looking at the Onkelos talking about the plunder, and the Rashi talking about plunder, distributing plunder, Mordecai and Esther, and Onkelos talking about the plunder of the Kohanim. We can relate both of them back to Purim and the Megillat. Okay, just my own little 2 cents in there. Okay, let's see if anybody is. Okay, so nobody has joined us, so we're good on keeping up with all the names. We are on to verse 28. Let me just sneak ahead here. Yeah, I think, what? Next week we are going to finish. Next week we are, God willing, we are going to finish the Sefer Bereshit. Okay, it'll be time to party. Okay, so verse 28, all these are the tribes of Israel, 12. And this is what their father spoke to them, and he blessed them. Each according to his blessing he blessed them. Rashi goes on to say that this is what their father spoke to them, and he blessed them. But are there not among them those whom he did not bless? Rather whom he reproached, like Shimon and Levi. But this is its explanation. This is what their father spoke to them. That is, this refers to what had been said in the passage. One might be able to think that on the basis of what has been said, that he did not bless Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, for he reproached them. To teach us otherwise, the verse says, and he blessed them, which implies that he blessed all of them. In other words, the blessing was, excuse me, the blessing that he's talking about now is, he's talked about all of them, and tell them what they are likened to, and so on and so forth. And we read into that to find out different prophecies and about what's going to happen in the future and so on. But here he actually blesses them. Okay, so each according to his blessing, the blessing which was destined to come upon each one. He blessed them. It should have said nothing other than each man according to his blessing he blessed him. Why does the verse say he blessed them? Because he gave to Yehudah the might of the lion, to Benjamin the wolf's ability to grab, and to Naphtali the fleetness of a deer. One might be able to think that Yaakov did not include them all in the blessings. To teach us otherwise, the verse says, he blessed them. Okay, so the further commentary on this one says, that's all about the Rome edition. Okay. Okay, so which implies that he blessed them. Pesikta Rabbatai, Bamidbar Rabbam. In his commentary below, Rashi explains how Yaakov blessed them. As it relates to, and he blessed, which was destined to come. The further commentary says that is, Yaakov perceived either intellectually or prophetically that each of his sons was suited for a particular blessing. He blessed each one with what he considered the blessing appropriate for him so as to increase the likelihood of the blessing's fulfillment. That's from Nachalat Yaakov. Roots. Okay. So we are on to verse 29. Then he instructed them, and he said to them, I shall be brought into my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite. Rashi goes on to say, shall be brought into my people. The verb form of the root is used because they bring in the souls to the place where they are stored away. For there is a usage of the word Aleph, Samek, Fe, final Fe, Safit, in the Hebrew language, which is an expression of bringing in, such as, and no one brought them into the house, again from Shemot, and you shall bring it inside your house, and when you will bring in the crop of the land, which refers to their being brought in because of rains, and when you bring in your work, any word with the root Aleph Samek Fesafit, which is stated in association, with death, also means bringing in. Also means bringing in El Avotai. This means Im Avotai, with my fathers. Okay, so there is further commentary about which means bringing it in because of the rains. The verse refers to the early autumn festival of Sukkot. Therefore, denotes bringing in crops rather than gathering scattered crops for early autumn in the season in which the harvest is brought indoors. Okay, so there is no commentary on 30 or 31 or 32, so we'll go right to 33, and then that will bring us to the end of the chapter, and that will be it for tonight. So, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which faces Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as a burial estate. 31. And they buried Abraham and Sarah, his wife, there. They buried Yitzhak and Rivka, his wife, and I buried Leah. Purchase 32, purchase of the field and the cave within it from the sons of Heth. 33, when Yaakov finished instructing his sons, he drew in his feet into his bed. He expired and was brought into his people. Okay, very little commentary on this. Yeah, it just says that the term actually means drew in his feet. And he expired and was brought in. But dying is not said of him. Our rabbis of blessed memory said that this implies that our father Yaakov did not die. Okay, so the further commentary on that one, which deserves some further commentary, Ta'anit, folio 5b, man during his life on earth is formed of two components, body and soul. This we know. And the more man focuses on his life upon the material, the more his soul becomes embedded in his body. Death is the tearing apart of the soul from the body. It is, and this again goes back, I was talking about this before, about the drash that I heard, which talked about just as it takes 40 days for the soul to fully inhabit the body, it takes 40 days for the soul to actually prepare to leave the body. Death is the tearing apart of the soul from the body. It is maternally oriented. This is an agonizing process. It is a rupture of their very being. But our forefather Yaakov, even in his earthly life, existed on a completely spiritual plane. His soul was not torn from his body at all, for his body was not a manifestation of his true self. When his soul departed his body, it was doing no more than taking off a garment. Thus, our father Yaakov did not die. In other words, did not die as the rest of us die, fighting and struggling. Okay. Okay, so that brings us to the end of chapter 49, and we will begin next week with chapter 50. Yeah, right there. Okay. Get my bookmark in place so I don't lose it. Okay, so Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Okay, and because I forgot to do this when we came back from the break, again we are featuring Rabbi Moshe Steinerman's set of books. This one is Hasidut, Kabbalah, and Meditation. This is from the I Love Torah series. If you want it, just go to Amazon and put in I Love Torah series, and it will get you to his books. Again, fantastic books. Should be in every Jewish library. So, home library and shul libraries. Okay, so thank you all for being here this evening. Just checking to see. Marshall made it. Okay, sorry, Marshall, didn't see you come in. Okay. I see you came in a while ago. I'm sorry. Missed you. Okay. So, tomorrow, or next week, God willing, we will start with chapter 50, and we will complete the Sefer at that time. And we shall see. We shall do something special with that. Maybe we'll bring in Zeta to introduce Shemot or something. Okay, so thank you everybody for being here tonight. Don't forget that on Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern is Kabbalat and Mariv Shabbat. This is part Parsha Teruma, and Shabbat morning at 10 a.m. is Shachrit and Musaf. And, of course, on Mondays at 8 p.m. is Zeta's Story Corner. So, please come back as often as you can. And until the next time, we will say, Laila Tov.